Hi, I'm Harley. I've got a community college degree in graphic design, a growing freelance business, and until yesterday, I thought I had a decent relationship with my mother-in-law. My husband Derek and I met at a coffee shop where I worked while finishing school. He walked in wearing an expensive suit, ordered the simplest drink, and left a generous tip. 3 days in a row, same routine. When he finally asked for my number, I never expected this charming guy from the right side of town would become my forever person. Our first date revealed the gaps in our backgrounds. He was Princeton undergrad, family money, private schools his whole life. I was community college, single mom waitress for a mother, public school with free lunches. But Derek didn't care. He loved that I saw the world differently, that I created beauty through design while he crunched numbers at his investment firm. His mother, Eleanor, never Ellie, never Mom, always Eleanor, was less enthusiastic. At our first meeting, she'd smiled tightly and asked if my hobby drawings could support a proper lifestyle. When Derek proposed 6 months later, she'd taken him aside and whispered something that made his face darken. I later learned she'd offered to set him up with more suitable options. Now, 5 years into our marriage, we were having our monthly dinner at his parents' sprawling colonial home. Eleanor was passing around her perfect pot roast, her perfectly manicured hands matching her perfectly controlled expression. Derek, honey, I ran into Vivian's daughter last week. Remember Isabel? She just finished her PhD at Princeton. Such a shame you two lost touch after prep school. Derek squeezed my hand under the table. Isabel was nice, but she wasn't really my type. Well, a doctorate from Princeton is everyone's type, dear. I always thought you would marry someone with a better educational pedigree. No offense, Harley. The table went quiet. I felt my face burn as the pot roast turned to ash in my mouth. That's completely inappropriate, Mom. Derek's voice was tight. What? I said no offense. I'm just saying there's an advantage to sharing similar backgrounds. Richard, don't you agree? Richard, Derek's dad, suddenly became very interested in cutting his meat. The pot roast is excellent, dear. God, Mom, just stop. Olivia, Derek's sister, rolled her eyes. Not everyone needs 3 letters after their name to be worthwhile. I didn't say that. Harley knows I think she's creative. The way she said creative made it sound like a disease. I managed just fine with my associate degree, Eleanor. Of course, dear, and you've done remarkably well considering. Vivian, Eleanor's equally snobby friend, nodded from across the table. It's so inspiring when people overcome their disadvantages. Later that night, as Derek apologized repeatedly for his mother's behavior, my phone buzzed. A message from Olivia. You okay? Mom was extra awful tonight. I started typing when another message came through. She's been saying stuff like this for years. Derek just finally started standing up to her. Years? I felt something cold settle in my stomach. What kind of stuff? The typing bubble appeared and disappeared before her response. You should ask Derek, but that educational pedigree comment wasn't a one-off. Last Christmas, she showed him alumni photos of all his ex-girlfriend's graduation ceremonies from Ivy Leagues. I couldn't sleep that night, Olivia's messages playing on repeat in my head. The next morning, I confronted Derek over coffee. Your sister mentioned your mom's been making comments about my education for years. Derek's shoulders slumped. I didn't want to upset you. Mom can be traditional about certain things. Traditional? Is that what we're calling elitism now? 2 weeks later, we attended Eleanor's annual garden party. I wore my nicest sundress, determined to rise above her subtle digs. But Eleanor had other plans. Harley, darling, come meet Cameron. She's a literature professor at Yale. The woman smiled tightly. Eleanor's been telling me about your graphic art business. Is that like making posters? I design branding packages for companies, currently working with a tech startup valued at $30 million. Oh, how commercial, Eleanor beamed. Cameron was just telling me about the faculty dinner she attended with Derek last month. Wasn't that when you were visiting your mother, Harley? My stomach dropped. Derek had told me he was working late that night. Must be mistaken. Derek was at the office. Cameron looked confused. No, it was definitely him. Eleanor invited several faculty members to discuss potential donations. I spotted Derek across the lawn. When he caught my eye, his face fell. He knew he was busted. As I made my way through the party, I overheard snippets of conversations. Vivian talking to guests. Did you hear about Harley's presentation disaster? Poor thing used whom incorrectly 3 times in front of Derek's clients. That never happened. I found Richard by the bar, ordering another scotch. Your wife's trying to replace me with a literature professor. Richard winced. Eleanor means well. She just has certain expectations. About what makes someone worthy of her precious son? It's not personal. It's how she was raised. Status, education, these things matter in her world. And you're okay with that? His face clouded. I learned long ago that challenging Eleanor directly creates more problems. She'll eventually see Derek loves you. After 5 years? How much longer should I wait? That's when Olivia pulled me aside with another revelation. Dad was engaged before Mom. His college sweetheart was a music teacher. Grandma and Mom worked together to break them up because she wasn't from the right background. I found Derek arguing with his mother near the rose garden. You promised to stop this after the dinner incident. I'm simply introducing you to accomplished people in our circle. The harm is my wife thinks I'm working late while I'm at dinners you orchestrate. Your father didn't mind when I arranged appropriate introductions for him. I'm not Dad. I don't need you managing my relationships. I stood frozen, everything finally clicking. This wasn't just about my education. It was a calculated campaign to push me out, just like she'd done to Richard's first love. That night, I made a decision. No more playing nice. What Eleanor didn't know was that I'd been keeping my own secret. I was halfway through an MBA program at Wharton, doing it on my own terms, not because she made me feel inferior. I convinced Derek we should host a dinner party for his parents' anniversary, inviting their closest friends, including Vivian. You want to throw my parents an anniversary party? After everything? I think it's time I took a more active role in the family. The night of the party, I wore a conservative blue dress that even Eleanor couldn't criticize. I'd prepared everything perfectly, down to the last detail. During dinner, I carefully steered the conversation. Eleanor, what matters more to you? Formal credentials or practical success? She took the bait instantly. Well, there's no substitute for proper educational foundation. Anyone can claim practical experience. So, you believe someone's value is determined by their degree? In certain circles, absolutely. There's a reason why legacy families prioritize educational pedigree in marriages. And those without prestigious degrees? Eleanor sipped her wine. They can find happiness at their own level. Not everyone can aspire to excellence. That's when I dropped my bomb. I've been accepted to Wharton's Executive MBA program, full scholarship based on my business portfolio and academic performance in my current program. The table fell silent. Eleanor's face froze. But I wasn't finished. I pulled out my phone. I've also documented every dismissive comment and attempt to replace me. September 15th, you told Vivian it was refreshing when people without advantages know their limitations. March 3rd, you told the Prestons my business was Derek's charity project. February 12th, you introduced me as Derek's wife, the dropout. Richard finally found his voice. Eleanor, is this true? This is all being blown out of proportion. I only want what's best for my son. What's best for me? Derek stood. You've been sabotaging my marriage for years. The fallout was spectacular. Richard moved into their guest house, demanding space to reevaluate their marriage. Eleanor's charity board asked her to step down. Her social circle, who'd endured her judgment for years, turned against her. 3 days later, Eleanor appeared with expensive flowers, offering a hollow apology. Now that you're pursuing a proper education, that's the problem, I interrupted. You still think my worth is tied to a degree. I'm not pursuing an MBA to meet your standards. I'm doing it for myself. Can't we start fresh? For Derek's sake? There's no fresh start, but there will be new boundaries. You can be in our lives if you respect me as I am, MBA or not. 6 months later, at my MBA graduation, Derek and Olivia cheered from the front row. Richard sat nearby, having kept his promise to attend despite Eleanor's absence. At the celebration dinner, Richard raised his glass. To Harley, who succeeded not because of her educational pedigree, but because of her determination, intelligence, and character. The next morning, Eleanor texted, "Congratulations on your graduation. Perhaps we could have lunch sometime." I showed Derek the message. "What do you think?" "Your call. But remember, she hasn't earned your forgiveness." I typed my response. "Thank you for the congratulations. I'm not available for lunch, but I'll let you know if that changes." I set my phone down, no longer defined by Eleanor's approval or anyone else's expectations. Sometimes the best revenge isn't proving someone wrong. It's succeeding on your own terms while they watch from the sidelines. What would you have done in Harley's position? Would you have exposed Eleanor's manipulation at a public dinner party, or handled it differently? Some might say Harley went too far by humiliating her mother-in-law in front of her social circle, while others believe Eleanor deserved every bit of the public reckoning after years of undermining Harley. Share your thoughts in the comments. Would you forgive someone like Eleanor, or maintain those boundaries like Harley did at the end? If you enjoyed this revenge story, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about standing up to toxic people. Your support helps our channel grow, and we'd love to hear your own experiences dealing with difficult in-laws or family members.